Hey everyone, welcome to the Simplify Your Life Summit. I am your host, Justin Crosscare, and I'm joined today by Brad Kearns. Brad, thank you so much for joining us. Really excited for all the listeners to learn more about you and hear all the wisdom that you have. Good morning. Thank you.
Justin, that is the best freaking title of any program I've heard in the last 15 years since the internet started taking over our minds and our lives and the portable technology. It's my number one pet peeve. I think it's one of the biggest health challenges we have is the increasing complexity of life and the hyperconnectivity and the distractibility. So simplify your lives, people. Thanks for listening. I'm so honored to be on.
I'm so honored to have you too. Yeah, growing up, my grandmother would always tell me the KISS acronym, keep it simple, stupid. And it's so funny, when you connect the dots in life and how it's totally coming back to me now as I'm going through my own personal and professional development and whatnot. So I'd love to start out with the biggest thing I've heard from the previous people that I have interviewed already is morning routines. I know when we were kind of talking, that's something that you really hone in on. What does your morning routine consist of? And I would love to hear why you're doing the things that you're doing.
Yeah, good question. And the first thing when we hear that word, some of us get a little shudder, like a backpedal. And I think it's been thrust in our faces that unless you have this super badass morning routine that starts at 4:45 a.m., you're a loser and you're falling behind. So the
Mm,
first thing I want to say is like it has to work for you personally, and
mm,
you can listen to ideas. And I'm going to share my wonderful morning flexibility, mobility stretches. You can find me on YouTube, and then I jump into the cold freezer and do my cold exposure. And I'm really enthusiastic about it. I think it's really helped my life. But I want the listener to know that they're the ones in control. And all that matters is that you do something that makes you feel empowered, sets your mindset in the right direction for a busy, hectic day of a lot of reactivity rather than proactivity. So I want to do something that's time efficient, that it's not a stress to fit it into my busy daily schedule. And I
mm.
remember looking on YouTube recently, I don't have to name the person's name, very prominent celebrity, best-selling author, thought leader of the universe. And there's a video on YouTube with over a few million views. And the guy's morning routine is 15 things long. It's like, come on, man. And one of
Yeah.
them is a meditation session is one of those 15 things. And I'm using quote marks if you're just listening. If you go watch me, it's only 20 minutes of meditation as one of the 15 things.
Mm,
So my morning routine is tight. I do it every single day without thinking about it. And I want to bring it into habit where it doesn't require discipline, motivation, or willpower. I just do it and it's like without a second thought. So what I do is I get out of bed and I drop to the floor immediately and I commence this sequence of flexibility, mobility, core exercise drills. And you can see it on YouTube. I'm doing like hamstring kicks and circles, frogs, working the different muscles of my lower body. And a side benefit of that is by doing this every single day, I kind of launch all my workouts from a higher fitness platform
mm,
and reduced risk of injury
mm.
because I'm flexible and mobile. I have that flexibility. I have that range of motion. That's a great time to do it every single morning. And now it's super easy. I know they say you're supposed to confuse the muscles and do something different. I do the exact same damn thing every single day. And if I can do it the rest of my life, I'm happy. But it's
Yeah.
become super easy because I've adapted to it.
I love it. So if I am just starting out, right, I don't have a morning routine. I just wake up, I turn on the coffee pot and I go to work and I'm jamming out of the house. What would you say? What do you coach your clients on? How do I start that? Where does that begin?
Well, first of all, congratulations, because if you're describing that literally, then you are not one of the 84% of Americans that do the exact same thing very first thing in the morning, and it's highly destructive to our peak performance mindset. Do you know what that thing is?
This
Oh,
bad
there
boy.
goes Justin. Reach for the phone. So if we reach for the phone as the very first thing we do in the morning, we have research printed. Mark Sisson and I wrote a new book called Keto for Life, and we talk about these outside variables besides your dietary choices that can really make or break your health. And
Hmm.
one of them is that reaching for the phone, putting you into reactive mode right away. And there's research showing that once you're in that reactive mindset, you depart from that high level thinking, reasoning, problem solving, critical thinking mode that you want to be in first thing in the morning when you're planning your day and looking at your to-do list or reflecting on what's important in your life. So if you can not do that and do anything else, including get up, grab your dog and take your dog for a walk around the block, you're not going to get huge muscles and set PRs in the gym doing that, but that's a fantastic morning routine. And if you're a dog owner, you're honoring your commitment to the animal to get the animal outside, breathing some fresh air, getting open space, sunlight. All those things are great for your brain, your hormones. And so it doesn't have to be anything beyond making a commitment, saying the first thing I do is bust out the door, push the button, go get your newspaper, whatever it is, but it's something that through repetition and endurance becomes habit, to the extent that it feels strange if you somehow get thrown off and can't do it that morning. So I know that I'm on the ground doing my legs as soon as I wake up, and it just feels normal and natural, and I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to squeeze it in or not. The second part of the morning routine, Justin, is a little different because this is like the mind games 101. And every single day after I finish my leg exercises, I go down the stairs and I jump into a chest freezer filled with 38-degree water, and I commence a set of deep diaphragmatic breathing exercises. I count up to 20 breaths, and then I get out, and I can speed up or slow down the sequence of the breaths. And it becomes sort of a meditative experience where I'm really focused on my breathing. Because if you don't focus on your breathing when you're sitting in a cold tub, you're going to start to get a chill. But you can override that. Maybe your listeners are familiar with the Wim Hof technique, where you do these devoted breathing exercises, then you can go out and perform these amazing feats. And I'm kind of doing a miniature version of that in the tub, because I'm just breathing deeply and going through the cycles and thinking about the next breath and keeping a count in my mind. And thereby I'm not bothered by the cold. And I get out, and it's a wonderful hormonal reset. And it also builds this focus, discipline, and resilience against all other forms of stress that I'm going to face in daily life, including whether I can discipline myself to turn off the damn email screen when I'm trying to write a book or do something important. So that's my pairing of my morning routine when I'm at home. Obviously, I'm traveling a lot. I don't have a chest freezer at my disposal with 38-degree water, but I'll try to add some exposure to cold as a package to the flexibility and mobility drills. And that's one that might not feel super exciting to the average person to go and jump in there, but you do acclimate to it, and it becomes kind of this success where you did something tough. You did something that maybe is not the most pleasant, but by doing that day after day after day, I have no problem. It's not like this thing I dread. But the thing I was mentioning at the start of this stream was I'm not going to smile and say, I can't wait to go jump in the cold tub. What's going on in my mind is I do these little tricks like, maybe I should sweep the floor in the kitchen first before I go in. Oh, maybe I should make some more tea for my wife so she can take it in her travel mug, and then I'll go in. And I'll try to talk my way out of an excuse. But like Tony Robbins says, he's a huge cold plunge enthusiast. He has special facilities at all 7 of his luxury homes across the world, and he does it every day. He calls this my mind telling my body what to do, to not to hesitate, but to act. So I realize I have to shut myself up and just get my legs moving down the stairs, out the door, and jumping right in without thinking about it and deciding whether I'm motivated enough to do it. This is where motivation is so freaking overrated these days because, we want to be, especially any of us who's involved in the writing scene, where you're going to get psyched up to write 7 pages of your book today, or some other expert told you that a page a day in 200 days, you have yourself a full-length book. All those kind of things. I like to stay away from, and just not even worry about the motivation or setting some goal that I have to feel bad if I don't make it. You just sit down and don't think about it and let it flow.
I love it. And with the cold exposure, that's something I've been implementing in my life. I don't have a chest, but I do use my shower. And so I'll take a shower, wash my hair, wash my body in typical warm water. And then the last 30, 45 seconds is when I turn the whole thing to cold. And I do a little Wim Hof before. But the reason why I do this, and if I ever fall off and I stop doing it and I get out of habits and I'm I'm not fulfilling the different things I was supposed to be doing. It's almost like, I mean, I guess you can look at it as a punishment, but it's my way of using my mental mind, right, to say, you know what, I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to listen. I am in control, not my ego, not anything else in control. And it's really, really powerful when you can do that, because let's be honest, you're not going to die from a cold plunge or from being in too cold of water. It's going to be very uncomfortable, which we don't like to be uncomfortable. We don't like the unknown. We like the warm, cozy water. What else is this doing to our body, the cold exposure, on maybe a cellular level? I know there's a lot of benefits, especially for us as we're aging, with the hormonal balance. I would love for you to talk a little bit on that.
Well, that was very well said. And I start out with that benefit because everyone can envision overcoming some miniature challenge and how that makes you stronger for the rest
Oh,
of the
yeah.
day. But when you get that shock effect of jumping into cold water, you get an incredible natural hormonal boost. So it's a great way to wake up in the morning. There's research from Finland that as little as 20 seconds of exposure to 40-degree Fahrenheit water will boost the prominent focusing motivation hormone called norepinephrine, will boost that 200 to 300% above normal for as long as 1 hour. And so you really do get this increased focus, alertness. I think there's some amazing benefits toward fat reduction as well. So if you're kind of working hard on your diet, you're trying to burn calories in the gym, and you're kind of stuck at these plateaus, which are so common and so normal for the body to try to stay in homeostasis and not drop extra fat, even though you're looking at a magazine wishing you look like that person, your body's very happy where it is. And so you have to shock the body with these engagements such as fasting or extreme carb restriction, the ketogenic diet, things like that. But also a brief exposure to cold sends this message to the body to start working harder for the mitochondria to heat up and start creating more energy to try to re-warm the body. And this can last for hours afterward. And people think it directly leads to fat loss because you get cold and shiver and then you make more heat and you make more energy. But it's not that simple, because what also happens when you expose yourself to cold is you might get a corresponding increase in appetite. And anyone who's been out skiing or chopping wood in the forest, maybe not where we are in Southern Cal right now, but in a cold environment, if you're out there for hours and hours, you have this massive increase in appetite where you're sitting in the ski lodge eating another order of sweet potato fries just because you were out in the cold for so long. So you can easily do cold exposure, eat more food, wake up the next day, and nothing's going to change. So what I've discovered is if I do this little bit of modification where in the hours after my cold exposure, I use those times for fasting. And I might have to override a profound increase in appetite or a pang of hunger that you get from the hormone. The hunger hormone ghrelin will spike and you feel that sensation in your stomach. It usually goes away after 15 or 20 minutes, by the way. If you don't feed yourself, then your body goes, oh, better start burning more fat and making more ketones. So if you can kind of pair, this is sort of an advanced talk, but I know your listeners are pretty into this stuff. So cold exposure, fasting period, where you override hunger signals, you will burn excess body fat off like crazy. There's a guy named Ray Cronise. He's a former NASA research scientist, and he's done a lot of cold exposure work, extreme stuff. He lost 27 pounds in 6 weeks from doing cold therapy, cold showers, walking around in a t-shirt in the winter. So it really does send a message to the body to burn fat with greater efficiency.
Yeah. And it definitely wakes you up. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. If you're feeling kind of drowsy in the morning, hop in there and do that. Now, you're unlike a lot of people, especially at your age. And I love what you're setting, with the bar. I mean, you're doing the speed golf, which was insane. I watched that video. It was incredible. Set the Guinness World Record. You're writing books. What are, maybe a few different things that you do no matter what? I know you got your morning routine. Is there anything else that you really focus on that's really simple, and no matter what, if you're traveling, if you're at home, it's a non-negotiable for you?
Yeah, I think thanks for the setup, man. That's right. I'm just turned 55 years old, and sometimes I wonder, what am I doing? Should I still be doing these crazy workouts, or should I just kind of go, into spectator mode and watch the NFL for 12 hours on Sundays? No. So I think my tidbit here is that you have to formulate a winning mindset. And,
Mm.
I used to be a professional triathlete. This is now, 25 years ago. It was like a distant memory. I don't even remember that guy. But I want to maintain some passion and some competitive intensity for the rest of my life and direct that appropriately to challenges that, for example, promote longevity rather than compromise it, which is what triathlon training does. I'm sorry, it's just not aligned with your health to go out there and pound your brains out for hours and hours. So I've been there and done that phase in my life, but right now I want to do fun stuff I really feel passionate about. It's appropriately competitive. It doesn't trash my body. It means so much to me. It means as much jumping over a high jump bar in an empty high school stadium. If I can clear that and raise my hands in the air, I might as well be in Olympic Stadium with the sold out crowd, because to me, beating these personal challenges and doing something that I've trained for, I've prepared for, it can feel like all that you need it to feel. And even if you're a small timer in the D adult basketball league, A, B, C, and D. I used to play in the D league, and I had to quit because these guys were too jacked up and would get into almost fights on the court and all this stuff. I'm like, guys, we're in the D league, not the D league like the pros, but like the fourth ranked
Yeah.
league in our small town. It's like, come on. So that's why I say it should be appropriately competitive, where you're not harming the other areas and responsibilities of your life. But when you go out there and you put your heart and soul into something, you mentioned the sport of speed golf. It's obscure, it's silly. There's not that many people out there, but we love it. We players, and we meet and travel around the world to these events a couple times a year where we can gather and have fun and compete really hard, and then go home and go on with the rest of our lives. So you have to maintain that competitive edge throughout life, or you're going to get old and soft and lazy and comfortable and indulge in this decadence and luxury that we have surrounding us and that have at our fingertips, and we can go buy something that makes us feel good. So I want to keep it raw and keep it real by finding these competitive outlets.
And I love how you said competitive, and each time you are competitive to yourself. So often we're like, oh, I want to be like Tiger Woods, or I want to be like, some athlete or someone that we know, I want to be like Brad Kearns. But no, you get to be the best version of yourself. And that's really where success comes in, right? Success is really progress. It doesn't have to be monetary. It's like, are you progressing in your life? There's a saying, you're either green and growing or rotten and dying. I can't remember the expression, but yeah. So you're either growing in this life or you're just stagnant, which is, essentially dying. So I love that. Where did all this start for you with this competitiveness and just becoming your ultimate self, and the health and the exercise and everything that you're doing? Has this been your ways of living your whole life, or did something dramatic happen?
Yeah, let's see. If we don't have a dramatic story, everyone's going to get bored. What happened to me was blank, blank, blank. No, I had a pretty normal upbringing and loved sports so much. And I was, wanting to be the best that I could be. First, I was going to be an NFL quarterback. Then I was going to be a guard in the NBA. And then I got to my huge public high school here in Los Angeles where I'm visiting. And I realized that maybe those major sports weren't going to work for this guy who was, 5'1" and weighed 109 pounds or something. So I quickly drifted to the endurance sports, and I became quite a serious runner in high school. I was in the state championship finals and national junior Olympics finals. So, this was a great reward, and it kind of helped me form my self-esteem in my social group. And then I went off to college with dreams of being a Division I runner and keeping this thing going. And I got destroyed chewed up and spit out by the system of training, which is still flawed today, where they just overtrain the poor kids, and whoever survives, it's like survival of the fittest, but it's not nurturing the individual. So that was a really kind of a devastating experience in my life, honestly, because I'd formed my identity around being a runner. Fortunately, I found the sport of triathlon, and I became so passionate about that. I was able to quit my job because I hated it when I graduated college. I was working as an accountant. I lasted for 11 and a half weeks, and I bailed and set this crazy goal of becoming a professional triathlete, which back then in the 80s, it was kind of an oxymoron because there was very little money in this obscure sport. But I just had the dream anyway. And I just wanted to test myself against the best in the world and continue to grow and progress. And of course, I I started out way, way behind the good guys because I was just a kid coming out of college. I had talent, I could run, but I had to build my skill in these other sports. And what happened when I had this pure and enlightened approach, I wasn't worried about what the world thought of me. I just wanted to do something that I was passionate about. At the end of my first year on the circuit, I beat the two top guys in the world, the number one ranked guys, and I was an absolute nobody. But I was thrust into this kind of new dimension, this spotlight, where all of a sudden I realized, hey, I can make a career of this. I could beat these guys. Now, I didn't beat them every time. I struggled for years after that trying to get it dialed in where I'd have great results, and then I'd struggle and fall apart and get tired and have to pick myself up. And kind of what I learned coming out of that intense experience when you're competing as a professional triathlete, a professional athlete, there's nothing more intense and dramatic when you learn the lessons of success and failure because you're exposed right there. Yeah. And what I learned was to be the best I could be, I had to get over myself. And that's why, as you know, the name of my podcast now is the Get Over Yourself podcast. And that's my message to everyone. I'm not trying to be a wise guy. It's my main goal that I realized when I could detach my self-esteem from the outcome and from the results. That's when I was able to be in my most powerful position, when I was committed to the process, just like you described. When you're trying to improve, that's the ultimate form of success in life, is that growth and improvement curve, regardless of how the world judges it. So yeah, it's nice to try to get on television and be on the magazine cover and have this huge important thing going on that you think is the end all because you're competing in a big event. But as we dust things off and realize that, hey man, we're all just doing our best in life. And the guys on TV who are scoring buckets, with the sold out crowd, that's great for them. But you can be that same person in many respects when you're at the gym trying to beat the best guy there and win the game of horse. It's just all about maintaining that own passion for everything you do in life. And then when you can hone these skills as an athlete is a wonderful way to do it, but it could be with you writing new songs on your piano or whatever. Then you can transfer that right over into the workplace. So when I'm working today, I'm writing books, doing podcasts. I'm doing the absolute best I can. I'm very competitive. You're allowed to be competitive and want to rise up the rankings or want to have a lot of people buy and read your book, but I'm not attached to the outcome. So when I send that book off to the publisher and say, this is my very best work, I'm proud of this, it was a wonderful experience, then you can kind of let go. And if you're successful, that's great. Successful in the material sense, the tangible sense, that's great. And if not, you get right back on the horse and do something that you love every single day. And if you can carry on with that mindset, oh man, that's going to free you from the pain and suffering that we indulge in so frequently today when we can so easily compare ourselves on our social media accounts and all the other ways. And you kind of rise above all that stuff. You can have fun while you're doing it. I try to tell my kids and young people, look, man, it's, get over yourself, but still compete hard and fight it out and try to do great things.
Yeah. We like to try and control everything in our as human beings. It's a natural instinct. I truly believe that we like to try and control the outcome of things. And I'll say for myself, 99.9% of the time, it doesn't turn out the way I'm thinking it's going to turn out. So that disattachment is incredibly supportive in so many different areas of life. And I want to kind of change a little bit and hop over while we come to a close on this and talk about the micro workouts, because I remember listening to a Joe Rogan podcast and they were talking about the smarter way of working out. And this is very similar. And for a lot of us, especially with my health coaching, so many of my clients are like, I don't have time for that. I have 5 kids. I got work. I got to go pick them up. I got to do this. And like what I try and inform them, we all have 24 hours in a day, right? So it's what you do with it. It's that priority. But tell me a little bit about these micro workouts and why they're so impactful in someone's life.
Yeah, I think this concept is one of the greatest breakthroughs that we've seen in the fitness world in many, many years. And it's so simple. Just like the term, it means hauling off and doing a brief explosive effort over the course of your busy day. So it's like a miniature workout. It doesn't count in your training book. You don't write down the number of sets and the number of weight like a proper formal workout when you go in the gym. But science is now showing that a life of increased movement variation and activity is more important than adhering to a strict schedule of strenuous workouts. So even the gym king who's in there an hour every single day, or goes to CrossFit 4 days a week and the other 2 days does cardio and puts in a wonderful 7 or 10 or 12 hours a week of serious training, there's 168 hours in a week. So if you're banging out for 12 and the rest of the time you're riding the subway, sitting in an office, watching Netflix at night, and I know you're watching Netflix at night if you're doing CrossFit 4 or 5 days a week, because you're frying yourself with excess, chronic workout patterns. And so you're going to have a lot of downtime of stillness and lack of variation. This can be less healthy than the person who gets up in the morning, walks their dog around the block, launches into these micro workout during their busy day in the office, and just has more movement and variation in daily life. So you can do something as simple as being in your workplace cubicle and dropping for a set of 20 deep squats. And whoever you are, I don't care if you're in great shape, when you get to 16, 17, 18, 19 of a deep squat, ass to grass, as my Olympic runner friend Michael Stember calls it, where you're lowering all the way down, not to parallel, but ass to grass, man, and then back up, you're going to start feeling the burn in your legs. Same with, I have a pull-up bar. It's within reach, right? When we hang up, I'm going to haul off and do perhaps a single set of pull-ups. It's not going to trash me for tomorrow's big workout, right? It's not going to get me sweaty or alter my important day as I go through the next thing to do and the next thing to do. But if you can kind of get into a rhythm of throwing these bouts of effort in to your busy day, oh my gosh, the cumulative effect is unbelievable. I did a calculation actually, because I have a hexagonal deadlift bar in the backyard, and happens to be on the path to the garbage can. So when it's time to throw away the garbage from the kitchen or the office, I'll walk by the hex bar and I'll do a single set. And let's say there's 200 pounds on the bar, which in my case is true because I'm a softy guy and I'm not up to the big weights yet. But if I do, let's say 8 lifts of 200 pounds, right? That's 1,600 pounds in a single set. And if I do that, let's say some days I'll do 2 or 3 sets, some days I'll do 0, some days I'll do 1. But if you add up the end of the year, oh my gosh, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds of strength performance that I've done without even counting my workouts. And by the way, the workouts are so much better, just like I said, a higher launching pad, because this is part of my life that I'm lifting these heavy weights once in a while. And I found a tremendous breakthrough at my age, because I'm 55. I can't go into the gym and slam for an hour really, really smoothly anymore. I feel it 24 to 36 to 48 hours later, where I'm kind of tired, dragging, my muscles are stiff because I worked so hard in the gym. And during the time of the workout, I felt fine, right? Justin, you go in there, you're pumped up, your buddies are there, whatever's going on. You can get through these awesome workouts, but sometimes you pay a recovery price if the rest of your lifestyle, especially, is, weekend warrior type description, where you're going to go play pickup basketball for 2 hours on Saturday. You're going to be great in that final game. You're going to make the winning shot. And then you're going to be recovering for 3.5 days because that's all you did for the previous time. So, making a more active general lifestyle. You can make up whatever things, I just mentioned a few, but they're so simple. You don't require a big complexity. You don't have to drive to the gym parking lot and go wait in line to get your towel and punch your card. It's just about doing something muscular, something explosive, ideally. And boy, you stick that into your daily routine, you're going to be, that's simplifying your life, but also taking it to the next level.
Physically and then also mentally, right? I mean, if you're taking that effort in and having a little break from work, especially if you're in a cubicle in an office and you're not out in nature or able to move around that much, that little break that you have to do that little exercise is going to release those hormones throughout your body and have you feeling good. We're human beings. And a lot of times we're not being, right? We're sitting down on a computer doing all kinds of things like that. So I love that. That's so powerful and so simple. Everyone can do that in their day. So we got morning routines, staying away from the phone. We also got some cold exposure, competitive with yourself, not with others. We also got, the micro workouts. I'd love for you to share. I know you have something free for our viewers and listeners today. And if you could just talk a little bit on that.
Oh, sure. If you go over to bradkearns.com and sign up for the newsletter, I have this PDF called Long Cuts to a Longer Life. It's an ebook with some longevity tips and kind of covers some of the stuff that we talked about here with this great show where I really like you getting me focused and, doing some takeaways nice and tight. We got a nice package here. And I know we get hit with a lot of information, and I try to relax, take it in, realize that I don't have to do every single thing that every person says, and then pick and choose the things that work for you. So if you're listening to this and this is the 10th one you've listened to in the series, and you take away one single thing of drop for a set of 20 squats a few times throughout the day at my workplace, Justin and I will be so happy that you just took away that tiny little thing. Or get out of bed, hit the deck. And the funny thing is, I would talk about this morning routine. I've been doing it for 3.5 years every single day, haven't missed a day. For me, that's pretty good. I know you could say 13 years is good too, but I thought it was a 5-minute routine, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, just 5 minutes. I do this and this and this. And then we filmed it to put it on YouTube. We did a nice production, and it was 12. And so all along, I thought it was 5 minutes. Remember, I didn't have my phone. I haven't reached for my phone yet, but I loved it so much, and it was so natural and enjoyable. It actually takes freaking 12 minutes. So if you want to start with something that really does only take 5 minutes, find something that's 5 minutes, and it really can change your life over time.
Totally. Yes. Thank you so much for your time. And lastly, I would love, where can people find you? I'm sure they're going to be wanting to see that morning routine, the cold plunge.
The Guinness World Record video that Justin loves so much. It's all at bradkearns.com. It will get you laughing and inspired, because I have some cool videos up there. And again, trying to keep it fun and get over ourselves a little more, not be too serious. Just keep it real, man.
Yeah. Just big kids.
Love it.
Awesome, Brad. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to hear the feedback from this one. So appreciate it, man.
Peace out, people. 24 forever.
Mm.